of what's really happening. Hello and welcome to the Transformational Speakers Podcast. I'm your host, Erin Lomanjek, and I'm really honored today to have my friend, Chris Salem. He is an accomplished CEO, business executive coach, world-class speaker, corporate trainer and advisor, and award-winning author, certified mindset expert and radio show host, media personality, mentoring business leaders and organizations to scale their brands and business by raising their level of influence as trusted advisors. In addition, he mentors business leaders and organizations towards solutions for enhancing corporate culture, improving the workplace, communications, increasing sales, and increasing employee engagement. I mean, if there's not something this man does not do, right? In his book, Master Your Inner Critic, Resolve the Root Cause, Create Prosperity, went international bestseller in 2016. He's also co-authored the recent addition to the Master the Art of Success with Jack Canfield, and his weekly radio show is the Sustainability Success, and it is amazing. It's a part of a Voice of America's Influencers channel and Business Influencers, with Tal Radio being a part of the Touch a Life Foundation. Welcome so much, Chris. I mean, let's just say, like, I know we're amongst friends here, but like, I love reading my friends' bios, because for me, it's like, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, wait, there's something else.
Well, Erin, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm looking forward to sharing with you here today, you know, as much value as we can give the audience that's listening.
All right. So I always say you didn't wake up at 5 years old. Maybe you did, but most of us don't. Say, I can't wait.
I didn't wake up till I was 30.
So tell us a little bit, how did you get to where you are today?
Well, let's put it this way. It was a process. It was a journey. And here's the thing. In hindsight, I can appreciate the journey. I didn't like the process before. I didn't even know it was a process. But it took me 30 years to go through a lot of pain and struggle to realize who I was and what my purpose was, and all the things that I had gone through that I had to learn that it didn't happen to me as the victim, or it happened for me as a way to really appreciate where I was at that time and now where I am today. I wouldn't be able to be the example and a resource to help others do the same for themselves had I not gone through that. So it was a long ride, 12 years of addiction. I struggled with codependency, perfectionism, and when you know, through it all with a strong work ethic, I was able to rise above all of that to become more interdependent, have a higher level of confidence, and be able to achieve a lot of things, not just from a monetary standpoint, but for what you become as a person and the value that you bring to others on a day-to-day basis. That's what holds the most meaning to me in helping others to do for themselves.
Yeah, it's like that call to more. Like, you know, there's something more. You've overcome. Like I always say, you know, what's happened to us, like you said, it's not happening to us, it's happening for us. But the same thing, I think a lot of times when I'm like in the trenches of something horrendous that I'm overcoming, right, or going through, I know it's not just for me, it's for the people I'm here to serve, right? Like, I know I'm going through this and learning as the leader. I sometimes have to go first so that I can coach people through the things that they're going through in the future.
There's nothing like experience that speaks volumes, because it's energy. We're all energy. When you've gone through that experience, whether people are hearing it or not, they pick up on that, and there's a connection with that person through that experience based upon a shared value or values. And that's what really is impactful when you are helping somebody, whether if you're a coach or not.
Yeah. I think that's kind of our human connection spirit, right? Like, we all want to help each other. And most of us want to help each other in one way,
Yes.
shape, or form. I almost want to say we all do in some specs, but I don't know. Like, there are some of those outliers, I'm sure. So I'm sure you have a lot of, you know, influencers coming to you, and you always talk about resolving the root cause of prosperity. So what is the biggest thing that people come to you, like their problem, that you kind of help them work through?
Well, I mean, a lot of times, I mean, I'm a business acceleration strategist. So I help people to help grow their businesses and brands simultaneously, to go from ordinary to extraordinary. That's where it starts, you know, and then using the process of where they are and then how to go about growing their business, whether if they're just starting out or if they've been in business for a while. But where it starts is always at the personal level, how they think. So I've been studying mindset now for over 24 years. And what people don't realize is our own self-limiting beliefs impact almost everything that we do. And self-limiting beliefs are forged during our child development years. They're often picked up from what we observe in a parent or parents or some type of an authoritative figure. Now, I know for me, it was my father and my mother, but mainly my father. When I was growing up, my dad was never around. So I was always seeking this validation from him that I never got. So guess where I sought out that validation? Everybody out there. So I was a pleaser and an enabler. I would go out of my way to do everything for you, not realizing it, to get your validation. And how did that make me feel? Exhausted, frustrated, depleted, and just stagnant, didn't get anywhere. And I really wasn't helping anybody anyway, because I had nothing to give from an empty cup. And then my mother, she was a wonderful mother, but my mother was a perfectionist. And if it wasn't done right, she would do it for me. So I grew up with, hey, I don't have to do this right, because I'll have somebody do it for me. But when I became an adult, I became a perfectionist itself. Nobody could do it better than me. And I had a hard time delegating. So you can imagine when you place these high expectations onto yourself and other people, guess what? You become frustrated, angry. Now, that led me down a path of 12 years of addiction because I had no way to escape the anger. That affected my communication to myself and others, my behavior, which was more codependent than interdependent, my attitude, my emotions. I saw things as happening to me, not for me. I reacted versus responded from a positive secondary emotion. And I procrastinated. I didn't take action because of the fear. So with that being said, self-limiting beliefs impact everything that we do in making decisions and taking calculated risks and following through. We don't realize how it can limit us in our journey to success and whatever that means to you. So you have to start by there to then eradicate those self-limiting beliefs, and from a clean slate to develop through discipline and consistency, a new set of beliefs and operating from a set of shared core values to relate to others, that when you build your level of confidence, it's going to impact your decision-making, your communication to yourself and others, interdependent versus codependent behavior, a better attitude from gratitude. You're going to see things happening for you, not to you. You're going to respond versus react to situations and take massive action despite what you can't control. You focus on what you control. You shift your thinking away from the expectation to the outcome into the moment from intention. You trust the process of what you can only control, letting go of what you can't. That leads to the results you see. That is right there. I know I said a mouthful there, but that is the process that will allow you over time to move in the solution, not in the problem. That's resolving the root cause to the problem. You have to resolve the root cause to the problem. That's your self-limiting beliefs. Create a solution that will be more sustainable to reach the goals and the objectives that you plan out. Does that mean everything's going to go smooth? No, you probably have more setbacks and challenges, but you'll embrace them and see them as opportunities to grow and expand, to become more, and then do it differently to have better, more sustainable results.
I love that. This totally geeks me out because for me, we were just talking about how I just studied NLP all summer and became a master trainer. And it was interesting because you think you've done a lot of work. Like, I've done a lot of work. I also went to school to be a therapist. I realized I had repressed memories that came up that I was no clue at. Here's a simple one that came up. I have this checklist. Like, I have a money blocks checklist. So you can kind of check off and kind of look at this. But one of the things was this person asked me, one of it was like, oh, I spent a lot of money on this, that. And it's kind of going through things. And I wasn't thinking, I'm just answering the questions. And it got to one, and this is so personal, but hilarious because it's how our brains are so tricky. It tricks us to not see some of these things, right? So done a lot of work on my self-worth, all this. But what happened was, the question was, I spend a lot of money on underwear and undergarments, bras, whatever. And I was like, no, I go to Walmart. Who cares? I've been married 17 years. He doesn't care. No one else sees it. Like, and like, I could just throw them away or whatever. But the thing was that for me, when I really got deeper into that, like, why wouldn't I? Because my future self, $40 million company, she's done all the things, right? She's amazing. ELJ wouldn't wear Walmart underwear. So why am I? And so when I started to dig deep in there, I realized that below it all, underneath it all, I still had some self-worth stuff. And I didn't realize, because anytime, like, of course, the Walmart underwear, you probably wash them twice and they have holes in them. They just fall apart. But every day I would like pull up my underwear and have my finger in a hole, and it would subconsciously still like kick up stuff, right? And I'm like, why would I do this to myself? But that's how tricky our brains are. We have an excuse like, well, I don't want to spend a lot of money on that. That's stupid. I could spend money on other things. No one's seeing it. But underneath, I'm seeing it. I'm feeling it. I'm not feeling worthy enough underneath it all. So it's like that onion, right? You can pull off, oh, I had this stuff about not enoughness. I had this about not owning my worth. I had about this, but then you get down all the way, like you're talking the root cause underneath it all, right? Like that was huge for me to go, oh my gosh, how many other places in my life is my brain tricking me to believing this still?
It's true. And just know that, again, it's ongoing. There's no graduation. I always say, well, when am I going to arrive? Well, you may get to that place where now things like, you've embedded these new ways of thinking, but if you're not continuing to do it each and every day, it's not going to sustain itself. Like, that's why I always tell people, like, I have a daily routine I've been doing for 24 years. I haven't missed a day. I do it every day religiously. And
now you got to tell us what this is. Come on.
Well, I mean, for me, it's a success foundation, a routine that I get up every morning at 4 a.m. I make my bed. Well, first, this is not part of my routine, but I do go to the bathroom first. But just to throw a laugh in there. Then I make my bed. Then I meditate for 20 minutes. I journal. Then I work out. And so that could be resistance training 4 days a week. I do cardio 3 times a week. I do planks 7 days a week. I come back, I take a cold shower, and then eventually I do warm it up to a certain temperature, but start with a cold shower. I eat a healthy breakfast. I then will read a chapter or two out of a book, something relevant to what I'm working on or one of my clients. And then I review my daily goals from the night before to make sure that I'm focused on the priorities that matter. I do that 7 days a week, 365 days a year, have never missed a day. Now, that didn't happen naturally. That took discipline, grit, and consistency to do it. When I in the beginning, I said to myself, I do not desire to do this, but I did it anyway. That's the type of thinking and the process that has to be done to establish that foundation in order to make the changes necessary to elevate you to where you are. If you look at anybody that's successful, whether if it's just as a person, doesn't mean how much money they make, but just as a person, they will all tell you they have a foundation, all of them, and they do a daily routine, whatever that may be. Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely think it's important to, for me, my biggest thing is I've been meditating since I was like 5. I was at my mom's house and I opened it up and there's all these tapes, right? And they were subliminal tapes, but they were guided meditations as a kid because my ADD mind would just never turn off. And so this was a way for me to balance that. And
you could definitely do it. I have ADHD. I was born with it.
Yeah.
I was born with ADHD, but this is a way to help keep it at, it's not that it cures it, but it's going to help offset the symptoms. Yeah. And the negative impact that it could have on your day to day.
Yeah. I was never diagnosed. They always
I was at the time I was a child.
Yeah, that's crazy because back when we were kids, like they didn't do those kind of tests very often, right? Like That was why they just told me I was too smart for my own good. And when
I got kicked out of 4 nursery schools, they knew that there was something wrong. So that's how I found out.
It was funny, but so in college for my master's in therapy, I was like, oh my gosh, I fit this criteria. But I think because I have meditated my whole life and I learned my own, almost like my own self-medication, but it was my own things that really helped balance me. And so when I told my mom, she's like, you are not. And when I gave her the list And when we started spending more time together, I go, Mom, you don't see these things because this is what I do in my head. I might not say it out loud. I might not do it out loud, but these are the things that are run, 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 run. And if I have a problem, I'll lay there at night and spin on trying to find the solution, all these different solutions going on, and then I can't shut it off, right? And I'm like, Mom, that's what it is. And she goes, I realize now that you're kind of right. You really fixate on certain things. I'm like, yeah, because if there's a problem, I'm going to solve it. So yeah, I think for sure spending that time with yourself, with your higher self, it is a time for us to kind of disconnect from ego for a while and kind of get a higher perspective. So then journaling, I love that you journal and then go into goals and making sure that everything, even the things maybe were downloaded, if you were downloaded in meditation, or if it was just quiet time, you're putting yourself right into the driver's seat and going, okay, is this in alignment with what I'm still doing? Do I still choose to do this today? And really set that up. I love that.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's the consistency is always the thing that's going to win in the long run. So discipline and consistency, you can never go wrong.
Well, and if you're a business owner, you better be doing both of those things. If not, go back and get a job. It's okay. No one's going to be upset with you. Just some people are meant to do this and some people, it's not in their DNA. My husband is not an entrepreneur. He is definitely military, 17 years. So he needs to be told what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. So like, it's not for him to build a business. It's too hard for him. So, it's all good. So I would say, I know we're both going to be speaking in Miami. So tell us a little bit, this Global Awaken Summit. We're going to be there February 24th to the 26th in Miramar, Florida. I'm super excited to go back to my other home state that feels like home to me. So what are you bringing to the stage for that event?
Well, I mean, I'm going to be sharing a lot of things we talked about. Again, that if we're going to be truly awakened, we got to be able to think from within. We got to be able to think from intention and not expectation. When we can learn to really focus on the things that we can control, letting go of the things we can, fear is reduced. We have more clarity, and with more clarity, we can be more focused. And when we're more focused, we're able to then communicate at a higher level. Not that we're just talking, but we're asking questions. We're actively listening, because that's why we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. And as a result of that, how that can transform us and how we maintain and sustain our personal relationships, keeping more marriages intact, not divorcing, better relationships with our children, relationships with other people in our communities, in our workplaces, in our businesses, with our customers. So we create more interdependency in our communities and business rather than codependency. So it's all about, we don't depend upon each other, because the media and the way people are brought up through self-limiting beliefs, it's all about, oh, I depend upon this, or I got to depend upon her or him. No, it's about owning your role and duties and being accountable and then complementing one another. My happiness isn't dependent upon my wife. My wife's happiness isn't dependent upon me. We choose to be happy. It's our responsibility. Then we come together, we can complement that. So that's the whole idea, what I'm going to share, and then how that can really transform everything in your life, your success in business, your personal life, whatever that may be. We're going to get into the foundation of all of that to create some awareness.
I love that, because it truly is. You can't have something that you're not already. Like, it's hard to, you have happiness, and happiness attracts all the success and all the things, because it's all the things that keep giving you, and not in the sense that the external gives you the happiness, but that fulfillment inside. So then you keep exuding more happiness, and then more of those things are attracted to you. More opportunities come, more of alignment from what the opportunities are. It gets more and more succinct when you exude happiness, and when you exude fulfillment, the success comes naturally. It's not, I have to be something. It's if you start with being it first, and then you do something, and then you'll have it, because that is the way that it's, and most people think of that opposite. It is the way.
Most people are caught up in the do and have. They're looking for the shortcut. They're looking for the, that, hey, I'm looking for these results. How do I get there and get them? The thing is if you don't have a foundation, it's like building a beautiful home. And if it's built on sticks, well, guess what? It's going to come crashing down. Your success is built from your foundation, how you think differently. How you think determines how you be determines what you become determines then how you communicate at a higher level with others through shared values. Now you're able to now do things better in a different way by controlling what you can, letting go of what you can't, to then achieve the results you seek. See, the way I operate, the way I think is I'm not tied to the outcome or the expectations. Matter of fact, expectations are not even in my vocabulary. I don't even use that word. I operate in the moment from intentions. I look at everything as a puzzle. My goal is to complete a 100-piece puzzle, and I only have 7 pieces right now with me, that's all my focus is on, those 7 pieces. The other 93 pieces, I don't care, because I know tomorrow, the next day, next week, week after, next month, other pieces will reveal itself, and I will focus each day, each week, each month that will lead to completing my puzzle. That being my goals. Most people get caught up in overwhelmed because they're caught up in the outcome. And then they experience stress, worry, anxiety, feeling overwhelmed. They feel frustrated. These are the things that, again, we have to be able to be different and thinking in a different way. Because when we're in the moment, fear is reduced. And when fear is reduced, we have more clarity. We have more focus. We're able to not be paralyzed by the fear or what people think. We trust ourselves more because our confidence level goes up. And these are the things that can change so many things, because it starts with you. Imagine you doing that and then empowering somebody else to do that for themselves, and so on and so on. When you create that interdependency, you're going to create a winning team. You're going to create a winning family, a winning community, a winning neighborhood, a winning church, a winning business, a winning society. Now it sounds easy to say and to do is another. Yes, but when you really think about it, we really make it more complicated than we have to. So it isn't as hard as we think, but it does require work at the individual level. Too many people are conditioned to be seeking these answers from doctors and from other people to fix their problems. All the answers are in here. They're all here. You've had them all along.
Yeah.
Go within. The answers are not on the outside.
Yeah. And that's the same thing with happiness. Like you said, it's an inside job. I always say, people are like, oh, I don't like my job, or I don't like this. And I'm like, well, that's an inside job. Like, don't look at me. Like, you have the answers. I'm happy to help take you inside if that's what you need. But other than that, this is your job.
So true. So true. And I, like I said, when people can be accountable and understand that, a lot of people hear it and they can acknowledge it from a logical standpoint, but to do it for some reason is a struggle, and to do it each and every day. But this is where the discipline and the consistency over time will start to make the shift in how we think. But this is the foundation: thinking in a different way, to be, to become, to do, and have, and then knowing how to connect with yourself and others from shared value or values to communicate at a higher level, and actively and use active listening as a way to relate and understand each other. This way we can respond versus react to challenging situations.
What I also love, I did a whole bunch of teaching of like values, learning about values. And I've always taught, like you were talking earlier about, branding and becoming an expert and an influencer and being seen as that go-to expert. And it is taking your values and using that in your marketing. You want to attract people like you got to first get clear on your values. Like, number one for me is family. Nothing trumps my family. If something comes up and it's affecting that, I'm like, I got to really look at that. I'm like, nope, I still choose my family. But, and then if I have a client that, like, if my family got sick with COVID, it's like, okay, we're all sick. If somebody's like, I'm so mad that you had to cancel your appointment with me because you got sick. And I'm like, then you're probably not the right person for me, because you don't align with like family first. I'll make it up to you, but family does come first, And so being able to communicate your values, and if you have not done your own values assessment, please do reach out to Chris and get your values assessed, because like you said, it is the foundation of everything. And if you can be tripped up, you could be knocked down, all of those things. But if you still have your values, you can get back up. If not, then you're just blowing in the wind that's where our people pleasing came in, because we really
Yes.
didn't have strong values and boundaries around that, right?
Yeah, there was no boundaries. Yeah, it's not about pleasing and enabling. That's codependent. It's about being empathetic and kind. Be the example, be resourceful. The greatest gift you could give somebody is being the example and be resourceful. Even if people are mad at you and upset because you're not doing for them, and they, in the long run, they'll thank you for in the long run. Sometimes you're going to have to alienate people, or they're not going to be happy with you because you're not doing what you used to do for them. But again, I'm not saying that you shouldn't go out and do for somebody. I mean, if you have an elderly grandmother and you're going to say, come on, grandma, you can get up, and she's can't get out of the chair. No. But I'm saying is that you're not just going out of your way to do. You're empowering people to own their own role and duties, to take responsibility. This is what about complementing one another is more effective to build a winning team, a winning result that's more sustainable than constantly depending on people in other situations that are beyond our control. That energy is just wasted energy. You can't, it's not going to change anything anyway. So focus on what you can control, and that's you.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so the question I ask all of my guests is about your future self. I kind of alluded to her at the beginning, but ELJ is my future self. She sat under the trees with Oprah, New York Times bestselling author, $40 million company. She's done all the things, right? So when I need advice, I bring her in because, like we said, it's an inside job. Only I know what I need. I ask her for her advice. So if I was to bring your future self to you today, what advice would he give you?
What that future self would say is that continue to give without expectation and to receive without resistance. And what that means is that it's not that you just give and be taken advantage of. That's pleasing and enabling. But when you continue to show up to be the example and be a resource for empathy and kindness, keep doing that, because it's like a boomerang. It's going to come back to you from somewhere else. But when it does, as long as it serves you and then can serve others through your example and resourcefulness, you receive without resistance. I just know that it took me a while to realize. I was always a good giver, but it was hard for me to receive, and a lot of people resist, but we don't realize we're denying ourselves and we're denying those people close to us because it's energy. So it's okay to serve yourself. It's just like the oxygen mask that comes down. What do people end up doing, especially women with their kids? They'll put the mask on their kid before themselves, but we got to put it on ourselves to make sure that we are capable now of doing what we have to do to help them. So we have to serve ourselves to fill our cup to spill over positively in a healthy way to other people. We can't give from an empty cup.
I love that. So true. And you're right. I'd probably put the mask on my son, my daughter, and then I'd be like, who else needs help? Who else needs help?
There you go.
When the plane goes down, I'm out of oxygen and everyone else is still there, right? Like that doesn't work. Well, thank you so much for being here. You guys join us at the Globe and Awaken Summit. The URL is down in the comments. We put it in here. We'd love to have you. We've had a lot of great speakers from some of these interviews that I've been doing that are going to be there. It's going to be amazing. There's an opportunity for a gala and a yacht mastermind. I mean, who doesn't want to be on a yacht in Miami when it's freezing cold here? I mean, it's like 30 degrees here. So
yeah, it's going to be, there's no other better place. You're not going to have the humidity. You'll have a little bit, but not like in the summer. So Miami's a great place to be in February.
For sure. I miss that so much. So join us there. We'd love to see you. Thank you so much for being here, Chris. We appreciate not only what you gave us today, but what you're doing in the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening to the Transformational Speakers Podcast. And I'll see you on stage.